So let's take a look at lesson 2. Let's get started. So let's do a little review. This should remind you pretty close of your homework. So we're kind of going to go skip through the warm-up. I'm going to talk through that later because we just talked about your homework. Let's talk about our complex fractions. Let's see what a complex fraction is. It's simply a fraction that is made up of either different parts. It could be a fraction over a fraction, a decimal over a fraction, a decimal over a whole number over a fraction over a whole number. All ways that are kind of the idea behind this. They're complex. They're not made up of two sets of whole numbers. So we're going to talk about today, how do we simplify this kind of thing? And it has everything to do with the idea of a unit rate, like last lesson. So we learned unit rate is something over 1. So what I'm really going to do is figure out a way to create and turn this and simplify this into something over 1. And this is where we kind of go past the idea of it no longer does it have to be exact. We don't need it to divide evenly by 1. We're going to use another idea. We're going to say, okay, 2 right here. The way we're going to simplify, one of the ways you could think about this is how do I turn 2 into 1? Kind of thinking along the equivalent fraction mark. Well, 2 turns into 1 by dividing it by 2, right? Another way I can think about it, and one that works better as we kind of work our way through, instead of saying dividing by 2, another way to say the exact same thing is to multiply by the reciprocal. Because that way, when I'm using fractions, if I'm dividing, I've really got to already use keep, change, flip, and multiply by the reciprocal. So I might as well start in thinking along those lines. 2 times 1/2 is 1. That's what I wanted. So I've created my unit rate. If I divide or multiply the bottom by the same number, I multiply the top by. So I'm going to multiply it by 1/2. 1 times 1 is 1 over 8. Now I'm not completely simplified because I can't have a number over 1. This is the simplified version. It's 1/8. Is the simplified version of 1/4 over 2. And we can do the same thing. I want you guys to go ahead and take a second and try your next problem. All right, so you were right. You're going to multiply it by 1/6. This time I'm going to use my cross-reducing skills from our fraction unit. Go 1 and 3. So I'm going to find the answer is 1/9 for my answer. So now we've looked at it when we've got this whole number still in the denominator position. What about it if I have a fraction in the denominator position? So it doesn't change what we're doing. To simplify the fraction, we're simply going to come over here and multiply it by its reciprocal. So if I multiply this, 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 2, so that's over 1. If I did it to the bottom, I'm going to do the same thing at the top. So 2 times 1 divided by 1 is 2. So the answer is simply 2. All right, go ahead and pause the video and try this next problem. Good, good. The reciprocal of 1/5 is 5 over 1, or simply times 5. So these cancel. You end up getting 20 as your final answer. Good work. So let's take a look at a word problem, a little more complex as well, because now I have a mixed number over a fraction when I divide it. So if I have 1 1/3 over 1/4. Okay? And typically you'll see the center fraction line being a little bit longer so you can see if it's a complex fraction. So first thing that should strike your mind is, wait, I can't do this, Mr. Maloney. I can't because I have a mixed number. And anytime I work with a mixed number, I've got to turn it into an improper fraction. So now we're following the same skills from last part. We talked about multiply it by its reciprocal. This time we don't get a perfect number like 2 or 20 like our last two problems. We're going to end up still getting a improper fraction. These cancel each other out, but I'm left with 16 over 3, which I've got to take and simplify one more time to 5 1/3. So, and then because it's a word problem, I've got to have my label. So I'm going to abbreviate that to MPH, 5 1/3 miles per hour. Good job, Josiah. All right, so now let's have you try to figure out how long Christian can feed his cat with the 22.5 cups of cat food. All right, so we take that 22 1/2 and divide it by 3/4. So we're going to say, okay, we really have 45 over 2 over 3 over 4. So we'll go ahead and multiply by the reciprocal. So 4 over 3. Now I can cross reduce this time, make my life a little easier. 3 goes into 45 15 times. 3 goes into 3 once. 2 goes into 4 twice and into itself once. So 2 times 15 is 30. So this gentleman could feed his cat for 30 days before he runs out of cat food. So same idea. Go ahead and I want you to try Tia's problem and our construction workers problem. Pause the video and see what you come up with. All right, so we did 34 1/2 over 3/4. So you take it to 69 over 2 divided by 3 over 4. So again, you're going to use a reciprocal. So 4 over 3. They do still cross reduce, thank goodness, to make our math much, much easier. 23 and 2. So 46 square feet per hour. Okay, gives us that one. And then we take a look at our blacktopping problem. It's the same structure, 35 1/2 over 5/6. We're going to turn that into 70, 71. 71 over 2 divided by 5 over 6. Wait, did I do that right? Yep, 71, I'm right. Over 5 over 6, so we're going to multiply by 6 over 5. I can't cross reduce here, but I can cross reduce here to 1 and 3. So I'm going to get 243 over 5. So I've got to simplify. That goes into it. I know it happens to go into it about 48 and 3/5 times. Come on. All right. So you get a really good start on these. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help you. All right.